Hey everybody, welcome to Goots' Wrestling Pod. I'm your host, Ray Goots. I'm here with Andrew Lee, the bro, and
Yo,
we're here to talk about Superbrawl 6. But we also have some modern news. And one of the stories is very appropriate considering the show that we'll be reviewing. The first modern news is Vince McMahon, once again, at the beginning of a year, has reared his ugly head to announce the government found out that he did a little wrongdoing, but not much. And he uh he now only has the Janelle Grant lawsuit in his way to complete freedom and the ability to buy AEW. Your thoughts on Vince McMahon today?
this guy, I can't believe he keeps getting away with things. He only had to pay like 100, like he had only had to pay like I think like 150, like 15 million. I think it's something like that or something. I forget. It's not a lot. It's like 100
Not a
million.
lot for him.
Yeah.
It's
No,
like
it's
it's like
not even
it's
a
like
hundred
if we
million. It's
got
like one. It's like 1 million. I think.
it's
Right.
yeah.
And he has to pay. You know who he has to pay? He has to pay WWE, and he has to give like the government like 60,000, 600,000. Like it's nothing. It's not. It's he gets away with it. Do you think like he reached a settlement? So now he has to. I believe
He has
they
to
put
fight Janelle Grant in a steel cage.
yeah the Janelle Grant thing was put on hold because of this, wasn't it?
Yes, the government said wait till we're done to continue.
Okay. Yeah, so now that this is done and Junior is basically kind of he just needs to pay a little bit of money. Now the Janelle Grant thing resumes. How long do you think that's going to take?
I mean, if this woman is going forward knowing who she's going up against, and she probably knows more than we do of what he's capable of, I would assume that her and this lawyer have a smoking gun, or they have someone willing to come forward that's going to blow the roof off the place. If not, this is an incredibly stupid game of chicken. I would have settled with him, but
Yeah,
I have to assume logic dictates to me that she has something he doesn't know that she has.
that's a good point. By the way, let me correct myself. He had Vince McMahon Jr. had to pay WWE 1,330,000 around there, and he has to pay basically a civil penalty of 400,000. So it's still under 2 million, and that's nothing for him because remember he just sold his shares. He's got like a crap load of money, you know. But his
Yeah,
lawyers
so
probably cost a lot, you know. But either way, regardless, he got away with this pretty good. Good for him, I
he
guess.
got away with something. We'll see if he gets away with everything. I still think this is the year that the McMahons get shown the door at WWE. I know I've been saying that now since 2023. I think the reason why Triple H puts himself front and center and everything is so when he does get shown the door, he's hoping that fans will revolt and they'll be like, "What are you talking about? Triple H is the best," and it'll protect him. But I don't know. I still feel like this is the year. I say this every year. I'm going to predict it. Triple H and all that family is gone by the end of 2025. I'm still shocked that they're still around. All I'll say is I'm shocked. I'm still shocked. You'd think you would get rid of that family right away.
Wow, I got some great. You know, there's actually some other news that just came up right now on my feed. I don't know if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, we can bring it up. I don't. Is it's wrestling related?
Yeah, it's
All
about
right, cool.
WWE. Just who they just signed somebody. They signed.
Tony Khan.
They signed Speedball Mike Bailey.
Oh, really? To
Yeah.
the to that little developmental thing or a real contract?
I mean, you mean not? No, no, not that. Not that
ID.
independent thing. Yeah, it's like a real thing. Yeah. So look, they signed Speedball Mike Bailey, which is going to happen. There's those of you guys who don't know. There's a whole bunch of TNA wrestlers who become free agents this year, like a whole bunch. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
pretty soon it's going to be Jordan Grace, who's most likely going to WWE. Joe Hendry, which I think will probably be going to WWE. Josh Alexander is also free. Kushida, but Kushida's probably just going back to New Japan. There's what's his name? Top Dollar, but he re-signed with TNA.
Oh man,
Oh damn, they missed out on Top Dollar. But yeah, Mike Bailey they signed. That's the first of their announcement. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're not going to announce probably like Jordan Grace if it happens because they probably want to save it for like a debut or something like that. But
The money to me is Josh Alexander, and of the three of them, I'm surprised Mike Bailey. However, if I'm Mike Bailey, I would go for WWE. I think Mike Bailey would get completely lost in the shuffle on Collision. He would be wrestling action under. He'd be put in Ring of Honor. He'd be
I
put in Ring of
thought
Honor.
he was going to AEW,
I think
but
no, because I think if you're Mike Bailey and you have half a brain, you see what they do with people. Dude, he was gonna have like 3 matches where he's showcased, and then he's gonna be shoved on Ring of Honor. I'm telling you that right now. That's what's gonna happen to him.
this
And
is what I
he
think Mike Bailey should do too. Okay, he is, I think, engaged or married to Veda Scott.
he's married to Veda Scott.
He is married. Okay. He
Mhm.
needs to bring her in. He needs to be like, you guys need a good, competent female commentator. I got just a person, bring her in. You know?
I think Veda Scott would be a good fit for the Netflix era. I do. I think she'd be good, like a female nerd perspective on commentary. You know.
Yes. Yes. I agree. 100%.
Speaking of Netflix, the Netflix era started this week. First off, before we get into news that will tie into today's episode, I have to say I thought it was awful. I hated the episode. I thought it was a self-congratulatory 3-hour masturbation fest. I don't like the pacing of WWE anymore. I think Vince McMahon, for all his fault, was way better at timing out and pacing a TV show than Triple H is. I didn't enjoy the show at all. I thought it was a horrible way to start. But they got like 4.5 million viewers. What did you watch the show, or what did you think?
I only watched parts of it. I I don't like those red lights that they had in the stands. Those
I
little
don't like
red
a
dots.
lot of things about the modern
Yes.
WWE. I don't like the ring mat. I was listening to something to wrestle with yesterday while packing figures, and Bruce Pritchard was like, Vince will never put ads. He goes, that's sacred. He would rather go broke than put than put one ad on the ring mat, because to him that's like you're basically like whoring out your company to a level that he doesn't need to whore out to ever in his life. And I agree with Vince. Those mats look horrible, bro. They're an eyesore.
So those of you guys who don't know, they put a whole bunch of ads on the mat. Um,
Mm-hmm.
You know what? This is what happens when you're stupid as Junior and you sell the company to be in power. This is what happens. It's his fault. Um, I I used to think it was gonna bother me, but when I saw it, I was like, it didn't bother me too much. I don't know why. It just didn't
I
bother
mean,
me.
maybe I got used to the Prime bottle, the pay-per-views, but I think the
Mhm.
Prime bottle just looks neat and clean. It's like one thing there. I still think the ring match should be. You know who did it better? And we'll talk about it in a few weeks when we get there. WCW did the Slim Jim mats so much better on their mats. Like you'll see it. It's in like it's a famous mat. Like I think it was 96 through 98. They had the Slim Jim ads on the mat. They were really better at it. Do you remember
I
those
mean,
mats?
uh, if I saw it, I'll probably remember it. But right now, I mean, like New Japan,
New Japan had a great one with Shadow the Hedgehog. I thought it was
yeah,
beautiful.
and Mexican wrestling, they have like
Corona.
advertisements on the mat. So I mean, maybe because I'm used to that, seeing that, like I guess I'm okay with it. But like the setup, some of the setup, I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's not like I prefer. Like I'm like you, man. I prefer the way things were, but I'm also like I don't really care at the end of the day.
I mean, I mean
But
the pacing of the show feels weird now. I felt like this since Survivor Series of this year. Every single WWE show I watch, the pacing, I can't put my finger on it, but everything takes like 2 seconds longer than it should,
mhm.
and nothing ultimately happens. And I don't know I don't know what to say or put my finger on it, but it's exhausting to watch and boring at the same time. WWE recently. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, I think so. I granted I haven't been following WB very, very closely for the past year, so I guess I can't be the best judge of it. But um, I also know that some people have came out and said it, but the number that they got for the Netflix first episode is actually not that good.
The
Um,
4 million or something.
yeah, it's under 5 million, but that's supposed to be globally. And granted, there are some countries that don't, because they won't be able to show it like in India,
Mhm.
for example, because India, like the WWE Raw has like a different TV contract, right? So it has to appear
Mhm.
there. So, but still, it's pretty low number for global, right?
Well, here's
And
here's the thing
yeah,
with doing number discourse with Netflix,
yeah,
because they really don't give anyone their numbers. Like they told WWE they had that many viewers, but the way it works with every other TV show, and maybe they did it differently in WWE, you don't know. The Fuller House people, I think it was Stephanie Tanner, somebody said like they never knew the number, and then someone said to them, you're being watched by 20 times more people than Full House when it was on the air. And I think every episode of that got 10.2 million viewers, like because that was back in the day when there were not that many channels. So nobody knows their real numbers, and Netflix doesn't have a chart. It doesn't submit their numbers to anyone. It just goes by what they tell you. So there's really no evidence of what they got. For all we know,
but
one person could have watched it. We don't know
is
that for
Netflix
real.
is Netflix is Netflix run by the people who run the stand?
Yeah,
What's
yes,
going
I
on
think
here?
they are. Yeah, you never know your real number. So that's why Dave Meltzer was so fun. Like Dave Meltzer, I'm gonna do a breakdown. It's like they don't really give out the numbers to anyone. Fucking half the filmmakers I hear interviewed about their movie on Netflix, I don't know how many people watched it. Like they just say that out loud. I don't know how many people saw this fucking movie. So how do you know the numbers, Dave Meltzer?
He doesn't know shit. Just like anything else, he doesn't know anything.
I think my point is with Netflix is I think that you can't really do number discourse like we've been doing with the ratings all this time, which really who gave a shit about the ratings till Dave Meltzer fucking threw a parade about the ratings every 20 minutes. You can't really do that because Netflix controls the information. They don't answer to anyone. So if Netflix tells me, Netflix tomorrow could be like, you know what, 20 million people saw it. And how can you can't dispute it because there's no independent chart. Um,
Can we
I
talk
will
about
say
something juicy that happened over the weekend, though?
juicy. Oh
Yeah,
well,
juicy.
yeah. Well. I will say this. This is how I know that a lot of people saw this Netflix episode. Because remember, people were like, the first one we got was like nobody watched it. Now it's like half the world watched it. I'll tell you why I think more people watched this episode than any other episode in the last 5 to 10 years. The Hulk Hogan got booed out of the arena on Monday, and when I
Mhm.
saw it, I was just like, oh okay, and I moved on with my day. And then throughout the next couple of days, the number of people who asked me about Hulk Hogan getting booed was insane. More people asked me about Hulk Hogan getting booed than most of the wrestling angles of the last like 5 to 10 years. I've heard more people ask about Hulk Hogan getting booed than they asked about AEW. Um, and it's so funny because it ties. We're covering Hulk Hogan today, and the shit he does on this show. This is why people don't like you, Hulk Hogan. Like this show is a perfect example of why people resent Hulk Hogan. What's your thoughts on him getting booed?
It was the best part of the show. I think
Yeah,
if you haven't seen it, go out of your way and watch him get booed. It's very fun. It's awesome. Um, Long overdue, and I think like people are like, I hate the people who are like asking the stupid question of like, hey, how come Undertaker didn't get booed? He endorsed Trump just as much. I'm like, yeah, but
no, he didn't.
Undertaker was there to give Rhea Ripley a rub. Hulk Hogan's there to like promote his fucking beer. He's there for a completely selfish reason.
Mhm.
That's why people are gonna boo him. It's like, fuck this guy, get him out of here. I mean, like, it's simple. It's very
But also,
understanding.
Taker just had Trump on his podcast, and then that was it, and he just moved on with his life, right? He goes, "I'm voting for Trump." Hulk Hogan went to the Republican convention. He went to that fucking rally, that awful fucking rally. He walks around
That
with Trump merch. He
that day
comes
he
across
was
as
wearing Trump merch. That same day he was wearing Trump merch.
Mhm. It
Yeah.
comes across as more pathetic. Taker, I think people don't mind if you're like, "I'm going to vote for Trump," and then like you shake Trump's hand, then you carry on with your day. I think
Yeah,
most people
it's
don't
over.
mind.
Yeah, it's over. The election's over, and like Undertaker just moved on. Yeah,
No, Hulk Hogan is really trying to latch on to this, and he knows that MAGA has racist connotations, and he's been trying now for 10 years to be like, I'm not racist. And then he walks around with these Trump shirts, says we gotta like throw people out of this country and shit like that. And it's like, oh, so you know what, you really work that you meant that stuff in the bedroom then. So fuck you. It's like it was a miscalculation on his behalf. However, if WWE's smart, they will make him a heel manager because if he can, like I said to you in private, if he can cut a heel promo like he did at Bash at the Beach 96 this week on Raw, the entire world will be lit on fire, and not just LA. With excitement.
Yeah. Well, besides that, there's a couple one other big news, but I mean, I think it's big news, but I don't know if you want to talk about it.
You talk about New Japan?
Yeah, the stuff that happened in New Japan.
Oh yeah, let's talk about this. I don't want to talk about the matches. I didn't see him, so I don't have much to say. But we can talk about the suspension.
Okay, so after Wrestle Kingdom, which is New Japan's WrestleMania, basically, they had another show. It was a joint production with AEW called Wrestle Dynasty, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's supposed to be really AEW versus New Japan Pro Wrestling. And one of the marquee matches is Gabe Kidd representing New Japan Pro Wrestling versus Kenny Omega representing AEW. It's a very good match. Go out of your way to watch it. Chris Charlton, the English commentator for New Japan Pro Wrestling, he in character is doing like during that Gabe Kidd Kenny Omega match, he's doing a New Japan Pro Wrestling anti AEW, like he's doing that kind of commentary, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can totally tell when you listen to it too. It's like, oh, because he's arguing with Rocky Romero, who's representing all AEW in a sense, right, on commentary.
Mm-hmm.
But he kind of, you could tell, just went a little overboard. And one of the things is he calls Tony Khan a money mark, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is a podcast that I listen to every once in a while called the Super J Cast, and they do have a lot of contacts over there in Japan. And basically, what happened was after that. By the way, it's not throughout the match. Chris Charlton only talks anti AEW like for literally only a few minutes of the match.
And also, nobody heard it because they don't allow you to share clips on social media.
Uh-huh.
So I haven't seen this clip. Not that I've been looking for it, but usually something gets to be shared everywhere so people would know what's going on, you know?
Okay, yeah, exactly. I had to watch the match myself to actually hear what he said. So he was suspended from commentary for 2 months from New Japan. Okay, now, and on the Super Jcast podcast, they said that the reason why he was suspended for 2 months was because Tony Khan demanded that he get punished. Now, which kind of doesn't come as a surprise to me because I think most people were expecting like the whole reason why he got suspended was because of Tony Khan. Because remember, he's supposed to be in character, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember when Hulk Hogan and Jeff Jarrett was wrestling in WCW, and then they did the finger poke, and then he walks out, and then Vince Russo.
Oh yeah, of course I remember
Hulk Hogan. That whole thing was actually a work, and Hogan was in on it. But then
Russo went nuts.
Vince Russo called him bald.
No, he called him piece of shit.
Yeah?
He called him piece of shit.
Yeah, but he also called him bald. He didn't like that.
Yeah, but I think the piece of shit he wasn't supposed to call him a piece of shit. I think piece of shit is worse than bald.
I think Hogan went on the record and said it was the bald part.
Because I listened to a few things. It was also a piece of shit.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. Basically, the point is, at the end of the day, they was worked, but the person said one line that went over the line, and that caused the other person to get fucking mad. And that's basically what happened here. I think the fact that Chris called Tony Khan a money mark is what sent him over the edge. Tony Khan over the edge. And that's why Tony Khan has soft skin. He's sensitive. And he didn't want to be fucking called a money mark. And that's why he got this English commentator suspended for 2 months, which is a bitch move, in my opinion. What do you think about that?
It is. First of all, go back and listen to Vince Russo's promo on Bash Beach 96, 2000. It is one of the worst, most like company destroying promos I've ever heard. It would be the equivalent. It would be the equivalent of Tony Schiavone walking on Collision and being like, John Moxley is a fucking faggot. Sorry, don't mean to offend anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? He's not over. He ruined this company. Like, it's just like so like. So there's a difference between the Russo promo, which I think Hogan had the right to sue over that Russo promo and this commentary. At the end, it's a New Japan versus AEW thing, and everyone does think that this guy's a money mark, and that's not a bad thing. It's one thing. It'd be different if they like this guy's a child molester. Like if like you know what I'm saying. If he announced like Tony Khan's a child molester, he's a pedophile. That's different. But money mark is like, dude, like you're too sensitive, and you look worse by getting this little nerve suspended. I don't think I didn't hear it, but from what you're telling me, I don't think it's that bad.
No, it's not. That's literally basically pretty much all he says. Effie said worse stuff than
Well,
this
he
guy.
punished Ricky Starks for that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like I would say this, Tony Khan. If you're sensitive about that, maybe the wrestling business is not for you. You know, like
Well, I think
I'm being serious. I'm being honest. Like if you're gonna be that sensitive, maybe this business is not for you. You know.
well, I don't think most things are for him because he doesn't know. Did you Mike the Mad Dog, the sports commentator, went off
Oh,
on
I
the
heard
scene.
that
Yeah. Why
on
is
a
this
for a
guy like
different
why is
reason.
your son
For a different reason, yeah, for
for
football. But
football?
he made a good point. He said, "Why is like get your son out of there?" Because
Yeah.
it's a netball hire, 100%. And he doesn't belong. First off, his daddy don't belong there, right? His
Mhm. But
his
if
daddy,
you buy a sports company, you buy a sports company.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
he bought it, so
yeah.
that's. But what happened to just like owning something like that? If you're a billionaire and just like hiring people to be the ones to take care of it, especially if you have no background in it, like you know what I'm saying? Why
Well,
do you get your stupid ass son in there? Like
because
he should not be
because
making any decisions. He should not even be
because
deciding what kind of food they serve at the stadium. You know?
because Jaguars and AEW are a toy to these people, but Jaguars football fans don't appreciate when you treat your team like a toy. Um, I'll just say this: like, I think that football's way different than wrestling. You know, a bad football team can affect the economy. A good football team can help the economy. Uh, there's no reason why Tony Khan shouldn't be doing anything. He should be enjoying his money and watching WWE and jerking off to Becky Lynch. He shouldn't be involved in being in charge of anyone. He doesn't know what he's doing, and he's proved that in multiple fields. I also heard that the soccer fans hate him in England. They hate him. They say
Yeah.
he's everybody has said you've mismanaged this thing, except for Dave Meltzer, who loves him. But everyone with half a brain is like, this guy doesn't know what he's doing, and it's just he doesn't know what he's doing. Look, listen, if you had the money and you could buy this, then the third, that's great. But if you run it into the ground, you run it into the ground.
But anyway, I just thought it was interesting. I haven't seen he worked himself into a shoot situation in a very long time, but that's what Chris Charlton did basically. I
Well,
haven't
you
seen that
can't
in
make
a
fun of the
while.
great Tony Khan. He saved wrestling, so
Yeah,
he should have
I
learned his
haven't
lesson.
seen that happen in a long time. Working himself into a shoot, but here we
Brother,
are.
it's a shoot, brother.
Back in 1996, though, working yourself into a shoot kind of stuff happened all the time, right?
It happened on this show. This is a very interesting show. I kind of feel. What do you think of the show overall before we get into a match by match breakdown?
Overall, it was like an average show. I think average to not that good. I think.
I liked the Savage match. I thought the Savage match was him basically going "fuck you" to Vince, which I enjoyed. When he jumps off that cage, I'm like, oh, he was watching the Royal Rumble. He saw that commercial, the one we were like, oh, you can't do Ahmed Johnson's moves. So he's like, okay, I'll just jump off a fucking cage. What do you think of that, you fucking scumbag? I like that match, but everything else was like, eh. And I also think Hogan kind of ruined that match at the end.
I think I see it a little differently than you, especially the ending. But I guess we'll get into it when we'll
Mhm.
go get to those last matches. But overall, this is like I said, average to not that good pay per view.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Super Brawl. We're talking about Super Brawl 6, of course, the brawl for the belt, taking place February 11th in 1996 in St. Petersburg, Florida. 7,200 people are in attendance. 210 pay-per-view buys. If you guys want to see comparison, the WCW pay-per-view right before this, Starrcade, only had 75,000 pay-per-view buys. Uncensored, which will be the next pay-per-view after this, will have and 50,000 pay-per-view buys. Royal Rumble 260,000 pay-per-view buys. So Super Brawl is kind of like in that realm of like drawing what it's supposed to draw.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna have Tony. I was about to call him Tony Khan. Tony
Tony
Schiavone,
Khan.
Dusty Rhodes, Tony Khan, Dusty Rhodes, and Bobby the Brain Heenan will be on commentary. And we're gonna go into our first match, which is a tag team street fight. Public Enemy, who comes out with some of the worst white female dancers I've ever seen. They're just doing like the white dancing. Public Enemy versus the Nasty Boys. These two guys, these two teams, they start brawling right away. Very reminiscent of the Nasty Boys versus Cactus Jackson, Max Payne. Public Enemy, they dump the Nasty Boys outside and they just go right out to the floor. Rocco Rock, he brings a table all the way from like the concession stand to the aisle, the aisleway, only to be met by fucking Jerry Sags, who just hits him with tons of chair shots. Grunge gives Jerry Sags a bunch of chair shots. Knobs, he grabs Rocco. Rocco Rock goes on top of the he's in the ring, gets on top of the top row on the apron, and Knobs grabs him and pulls him down and goes crashing through a table. Jerry Sags gives Grunge shot, I guess, garbage can lid shots, and after a while they finally decide to get back in the ring. And then Jerry Sags hits a jumping pile driver on a trash can, but Grunge just gets up and he hits Sags with the garbage can lid. So a lot of no selling happening in here.
Yeah.
Knobs suplexes Rocco Rock through a table by the concession stand in the front, and then hits him in the head with with a chair shot. Everyone is now by this like food stand area, and Grunge bulldogs Jerry Sags onto a chair, and everyone's hitting each other with chair shots, garbage can lids. Nobody's selling anything. Jerry Sags suplexes a table onto Rocco Rock. Knob sets up a table, and Rocco Rock climbs up where the stand to where the fans are, and what do you call it? He jumps off of it, but Knobs moves off the table, so Rocco Rock goes through his third table. Rocco Rock went through 3 tables in this match. Knobs covers him and wins the match. This is I gave it a C plus. This was a terrible match. This is where logic starts going out the door, where everybody is just going through as many tables and chairs as possible. Nobody's selling shit. This is the beginning of the end of like realism in wrestling, I think.
I didn't hate as much as you. I like the fact that it was so stupid and ridiculous. I developed a soft spot for the Nasty Boys. So I didn't hate it as much. Yes, it's ridiculous, it's stupid, but I don't know. It just felt like a change of pace for WCW. You know what I mean? I don't know. I understand what you're saying, and I think if I saw this on Raw on Monday, I'd be like, "Oh, this fucking stinks." But I found it to be not that offensive. The one thing I will say about this match, and this is how you can tell WCW makes no fucking money. Did you see how few shirts they had in their merch stand?
Well, that's a fake merch stand.
You don't think that's real?
I don't think it's real. I think that's set up as like an excuse. You know how like whenever they fought like Mick Foley and Max Payne, there was that fake food stand like right by the stage that they would fight and stuff. I think that's like a fake stand right by the stage. That's too close to the stage.
Okay.
You know?
I'll say this. That might be a fake merch stand so Rocco Rock could get beat up on it.
Yeah.
I think if you went out in the lobby, that's the same amount of shirts they have at the merch stands.
Probably.
Which is another factor. I'll say this. That's another factor in why you went out of business.
Yeah. I guess probably see that. Yeah. Yeah, I hated this match, so whatever. Do you like the Public Enemy? This is the first time we're seeing.
No, I don't like them. I don't like
Yeah.
every other match I've seen of them. I fucking hate. I think they're one of the worst tag teams ever. They're not good wrestlers. They have an even worse match at the Slamboree 96. This was actually better. When we get Slamboree 96, I've seen that event a few times, like over the years, because it's kind of like the start of like the whole NWO era, even though they're not on the show yet. I think it's the night before Scott Hall shows up. That match is atrocious and boring, and I hate it. Or maybe it's at the great whatever the case is. They have worse matches yet to come.
My favorite Public Enemy match is them versus the Acolytes on Sunday Night Heat. I love
You
that.
know, they should have got hit harder.
All right, so Mean Gene Oakland, he's in the back, and he tells us, "Hey guys, call the hotline. There's 2 former WWF champions on their way over here to WCW. So call the hotline." Is he talking about Razor Ramon and Diesel?
I don't think so. I think
Yeah,
Diesel
it's
didn't
still
tell
early.
Vince until like the road to WrestleMania. I think Razor tells the reason why Roddy Piper has that match with Goldust is Razor tells Vince suddenly he fails a drug test and suddenly suspended for WrestleMania. That match was supposed to be Goldust and Razor, the match we see Roddy Piper in. So, and then I think Diesel tells him a few weeks later. So I don't think Vince knew at this moment they were leaving.
So then who is coming in? 2 former WWF champions. Is it like the Quebecers or something? Or
Probably something stupid like that. But
yeah.
it's probably who else debuts? Someone else debuts. The Rock and Roll Express come back. They technically had a belt in WWE. They won the Smoky Mountain belt on a Raw or something. Dude, it's probably something dumb like that. I don't think it could be Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. I don't think they knew that soon. Because I think if they knew, Razor would have lost. Next month, next time we review a show, he beats 1, 2, 3 Kid. I think he would have lost if they knew.
I think he might have been the Quebecers.
I think it might have been them too. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it was the Quebecers. Anyways, after he plugs his hotline, he gets Conan from AAA to come talk to him. Conan, this terrible looking Gold Gear. Oh, it's so bad. I can't believe that. I was like, oh man, he looks so bad.
I can't believe like women were into him. That's what they claimed. He was like a sex symbol in Mexico.
Yeah, no, he was supposedly like Hulk Hogan over there in Mexico. And he says,
Hulk Hogan might look better in that gear than him. I mean, that's how bad he looks.
I mean, he wasn't. He's like really old now, but like he wasn't like he was like in shape, and he was a good looking guy back then, you know. And he could, you could speak both languages, and he was like, "Oh, I want to thank the Latins on congratulating me on winning this U.S. title." And he's doing his whole promo, but the whole time he's looking at the wrong camera. I thought it was really funny. He's just looking that way. I was like, this guy's looking at the wrong camera. Somebody tell him. But anyway, it's our first sign of Conan. We're gonna see him later in the show. But we're gonna move on to match number 2. It is for the television title or the Diamond Doll or money. Like that's what else is on the line. So you win a television title with Diamond Dolls on the line against money. The Diamond Doll, she does her aerobics and she introduces Johnny B. Bad, who is the television champion, who's still throwing his frisbees to everybody. By the way, during this entrance, they show you the crowd. You see Linda Hogan in the crowd here.
Oh wow!
Yeah, you see her. Just like they don't mention it that it's Hogan's wife, but they just a clear shot of Linda.
Oh, I missed that. Okay, all right, interesting.
Yeah, and you get Diamond Dallas Page comes out with roses because he tried to give it to the Diamond Doll, like, "Hey, I want you back." Johnny B. Bad attacks Diamond Dallas Page on the floor, and DDP starts clobbering Johnny B. Bad on the apron. But Bad, he pulls DDP from over the top to the floor. So they're on the apron. He pulls him over the top rope to the floor. But it's not a DQ for some reason. And Tony Schiavone and Bobby Labrini has to question this. Like, oh, that's a DQ in WCW. I don't know what's going on. It's right in front of the ref. I'm like, yeah, this stupid effing rule that Bill Watts created. Like they have to keep paying for it years and years after he's gone. It's incredible. Yeah. There is a great spot that happens in this match, however, when Johnny B. Bad, he has like an arm wrench on Diamond Dallas Page, and Diamond Dallas Page snapmares Johnny B. Bad, and Johnny B. Bad gets up real quick, puts on another arm wrench, and then a DDP does another snapmare, and then Johnny B. Bad does like an arm wrench float over into like an arm drag. It's a dude. He could wrestle. Johnny B. Bad, when he wanted, he could really wrestle.
Oh yeah. I think my DDP. DDP's gonna eventually.
DDP he was involved in that too. I mean,
I know.
Yeah, it was great. Great
spot.
I
think the reason the match is so good is because Johnny B. Bad.
Yeah. So it's back and forth till DDP does a stun gun on Johnny B. Bad. And then DDP hits a good gut buster and a big BDT to boos from the audience because he's the heel. DDP, he's doing these great moves, but he's like, "Hey, Diamond Dog, give me that 10. Give me that 10 sign." And she gives him a 0, and it pisses him off. And then we see during this match, we see Conan. He's with Pedro Morales. They're doing the Spanish commentating as Johnny B. Bad starts fighting back, and he gets a 10 from Diamond Doll. DDP has Johnny B. Bad in a long sleeper hole, but Bad, he gets out and he puts on his own sleeper. DDP is out, and both are just like kind of like spent and tired. But Johnny B. Bad hits a tombstone pile driver to win the match. Afterwards, Johnny B. Bad, he gets this huge check because since Dynamite Dallas Page lost, he has to give this money to them. And Johnny B. Bad gives his check to the Diamond Doll, and that will be the end of this. I gave this match a B plus. It was probably the best match on this card. What do you think?
Oh, I don't think it's the best match in the card. I didn't like it as much as their previous matches. I thought the Diamond Doll was a little bit too involved. After seeing her like fuck up her lines and look like a jerk off at the last show, I'm no longer a fan of Kimberly. There's something about her now I don't like. And I thought the match was good, but I think they had better matches, especially Halloween Havoc, which you didn't see. That match was pretty good. So I don't know. I liked it, but I didn't love it. I don't like Kimberly Page anymore. I'm done with her.
Yeah.
She
By the
she
way,
is she's the opposite of Sunny. Whereas Sunny like is a horrible person, but she has such charisma, you like are drawn to her. Kimberly Page is like a gorgeous woman, but she has zero charisma. So you're like, get her the fuck off my TV, you know?
you know who else didn't like Kimberly Page in this?
Who?
Johnny B. Bad,
Yeah.
because he did not like this storyline with
Hmm.
and the reason why he said is a couple of reasons. He said number one, he didn't feel like Johnny B. Bad needed a valet, and number
I agree
two,
with him about that.
yeah, and number two, yeah, I agree with him on that. Number two, what happened was him being seen with a woman on TV made problems for him at home with like his daughter
Hmm.
and stuff. His daughter was young and she didn't understand why daddy was with another woman and stuff. So he just wasn't a fan. He said there's no issues with between him and Kimberly as a person. He's like, I just don't like the storyline. It wasn't a fan. And I think he kept asking for it to be changed and they just kept saying no to him. So when contract season comes up, he's just like, no, fuck you guys. And this is going to be his last WCW pay per view appearance by Johnny B. Bad. So I wonder how they're going to get the title off of him. I guess they just.
I think they just say like I think they just say like he like ran away scared. They like because they didn't know Bischoff doesn't know he's leaving till he leaves, and Bischoff was kind of annoyed because he's like I thought we were friends, and I think they just like he was scared of Paige or something.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, WCW loses Johnny B. Bad. Unfortunately, this is not going to be a stone cold moment of
Yeah,
turning the tide, which is crazy because if you had told me back in 1996 Johnny B. Bad is leaving to go to WWF, I think I would have been like, oh, he's really good. He's going to be a game
yeah.
changer, you know? But I guess he wasn't.
Instead, the game changed him into a jobber because it's all about the game.
Yeah, I don't know what happens. He's so good in WCW. Like,
We're
what
gonna
the fuck
see it in real
happens?
time, bro. We're gonna see in real
Yeah,
time what
we're gonna
happens.
see.
Well,
Yeah, we're gonna see him fall
I think
apart.
we'll know by SummerSlam why it didn't work.
Yeah, I think
Mhm.
you're right. The Mean Gene Okerlund, he is with Harlem Heat regarding their rematch they're gonna have, and Stevie Ray's like, "Yo, Lex Luger committed grand larceny on us," and Booker calls him sissy ass. Booker T's like, "Damn bunch of sissified suckers, some college punks." I was like, "Yeah, that's '90s trash talk." I loved it. Sissified suckers. Oh, I love that line.
That's funny.
Mean Gene Okerlund says, "Hey, by the way, the winner of this match is going to face the Road Warriors." And Harlem Heat's like, "Yo, man, this is 1996. It's not 1986. We're not scared of the Road Warriors, and we're taking it into the future." So I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool. Weird stipulation, but all right. It is what it is."
Mhm.
This is going to lead to match number 3. This is for the WCW Tag Titles. Harlem Heat comes out with no Sensational Sherry this time. By the way, if you're wondering what happened to her, She is involved in the storyline where she is in love with Colonel Rob Parker, Ray Gootz's favorite manager. And
I do declare.
so I don't know if you've been following the storyline. What happens is they end up like they go to like
Mhm.
Las Vegas to get married. And
Mhm.
while they're getting like during the ceremony about where they're about to do their vows, Medusa shows up and she attacks Sherry because she's also hooking up with Colonel Rob Parker.
And
And
Medusa thought that Vince McMahon was treating her bad. Jesus
yeah, I
Christ.
know. People forget to mention this. That like, oh, she left WWF because he was doing nothing with her. And I think, yeah, granted, but like she came to WCW and she's basically fucking Colonel Rob Parker as well. It's
I
stupid.
do declare.
So stupid, yeah. But anyway, Harlem Heat versus Sting and Lex Luger, who are the tag champions. Lex Luger is very hesitant to start. That's gonna be his whole gimmick for this whole thing. He doesn't want to wrestle. He doesn't want to start wrestling. So anyway, Booker T and Sting have to start the match. Booker T has head scissors on Sting early on, and then Lex Luger tags in, but the Harlem Heat sends him back outside. Very annoyed Sting tags in, and again, and then he has to get beat on by Stevie Ray and Booker T, and then finally Sting tags Lex Luger back in. Booker T does a spinneroonie here, and then he pops up to the leg lariat right after the spinneroonie, which he will still do when going into WWE. But that thing
Mhm.
got a big pop. That's a great move. The spinneroonie pop up into a fucking leg lariat, or like everybody loves that.
I like it.
Yeah, Lex Luger takes a beating from both guys for a while, and then Sting, he makes a tag, but the referee doesn't see the tag. But Sting attacks anyway. He's like, I don't care if you're not gonna let me know. I'm gonna beat these guys up. And then until he goes flying over the top rope, and the referee goes outside to check on Sting because Sting went over the top rope. It's like, oh, are you okay? While this is happening, and the ref's distracted, Road Warrior Animal comes in. He hits Stevie Ray in the gut with some kind of lead pipe thing, and then the referee by the way, the referee did see this, but he has to act like he didn't see it. And then Lex Luger covers Stevie Ray for the win. Um, Gene, after this match, Mean Gene Okerlund, he's trying to talk to Sting and Lex Luger, and he's like, hey, what happened out there? How can you guys allow this kind of interference? And both Sting and Lex Luger, they just ignore him. They're just like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I gave this a B minus. It's not a bad match. What did you think?
Yeah, I didn't like this match. I don't like either one of the tag matches with Sting and Lex
Oh,
Luger
you
ever.
didn't like it?
I mean, I didn't hate it, but like it's just very like whatever. And the ending kind of sucked. I don't know. I didn't. It was okay. I didn't really like the either Sting Luger tag match this show.
By the way, though, I was looking into this because I was like, wow, Harlem Heat's in there. They got Road Warriors. I looked at 1996 WCW roster. You gotta listen to this tag team roster they had. They have Lex and Sting, right, are the champions,
Mhm.
right? Which are big guys, You got Harlem Heat, you got Road Warriors, the Nasty Boys, right? The Rock and
Mhm.
Roll Express, Public Enemy. Even though we don't like them, they're a legendary tag team in some sense,
Mhm.
right? The Steiner brothers, the Outsiders, the Faces of Fear, the Blue Bloods, the Quebecers, American Males. These are all in the WCW tag scene in 1996. This would be the best tag team division of all time, except AEW had a better tag team division back in 2020. Okay, so
It's a good. It's
they
a
have
good.
they have Private Party, guys.
Oh, I mean, you can't dispute Private Party. Come on, dude.
Yeah, I can't believe that's what Dave Meltzer claimed. Like this, is this the best tag team division? 1996 WCW.
I like 1988 WWF. If you look at that Survivor Series match, that's a great tag division. You have the British Bulldog, Islanders, Powers of Pain, Brainbusters, Rockers, Heart Foundation, the Bolsheviks, a Demolition. I mean, that's like an all-star. Every team, Bushwhackers, every team is an all-star. They're not the greatest workers, but they were all the Rougeos. I mean, it goes on and on. 88, the Strike Force popped in every now and then. Every team is like a megastar. So
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but interesting tag team division. I can't. I'm looking forward to the rest of these WCW 1996 pay per view tag team matches. It
they don't
should
they
be.
don't they don't they don't get that good. Oh, forget the Faces of Fear. Did you say Faces of Fear?
I did say
Okay.
Faces of Fear. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that match. Them start to wrestle.
And also, you forgot also the Renegade and Joe Gomez.
Joe Gomez. I don't know who that is. I know.
Dude, so apparently this guy Joe Gomez, he's gonna be at a few pay-per-views. He was like a rich guy, a friend of Ric Flair, who wanted to get into wrestling, but he was like a club owner. So like he would just be a jobber, and he was like, yeah, I don't give a fuck, I just want to be here. And he'd be like, Rick, hey Rick, you want to hit the bars after this? And he's like, yeah, sure. So he's like, he owns a bunch of clubs in Miami, Joe Gomez. He was just Ric Flair goes, he was just a rich guy who wanted to wrestle. So
Wow, interesting.
Mhm. Like I just thought he was like some loser, and it's like he's like a guy that's like, well, how do I do this? And he learned, and he's like, well, I'll just fucking go on the road. I'll lose to you guys. I don't give a fuck. Like then let's go out after.
I gotta look this guy up.
That's what Ric Flair said. Well, let's keep going with this show, and then we'll talk about Joe Gomez when we get to Joe Gomez.
Yeah, let's go to match number 4. It is for the U.S. title. The One Man Gang, who is noticeably smaller than he used to be, versus the champion Conan.
He's got to want it like Deanna Purrazzo with the Billy Willie.
Yeah, he trimmed down a lot, which actually I think makes it look worse. Because he's supposed to be like a big dude, and now he just looks like a regular dude.
Now he looks like a no man gang. So
yeah, he doesn't look like a one man gang at all. He looks like he's got like Rey Mysterio gear on, Conan, when he starts.
Well, yeah, Conan looks like shit. Thank God he went to the fucking gangster look. That really helped him out.
Chicano look, yeah. So he's taking off his gear and he turns his back to One Man Gang to start. So obviously he's gonna get a beating, and Gang is beating on him. Conan uses his speed to send the One Man Gang outside. Then Gang beats on Conan back in the ring as they show Steve Grissom, the WCW race car driver, in the audience watching this amazing match. I remember they don't do that anymore, where they sponsor race cars anymore.
No, WWE I think still does that. They just don't talk about it, or they did.
Really?
They did in the past.
Sponsor a race car?
I think they did in the past. Yeah, they just did it. They didn't like really like go nuts about it, but they did it. They did it after WCW went down. I know that.
Do they still do it now?
I don't know. They were doing it longer than you think they did. Why don't you look it up real quick?
Like, I wonder why they would do this. I always wondered why. What did they get out of this?
So WCW, remember WCW would have a segment this week in WCW Motorsports? Like, I used to think, like, is this like a thing? Like, because they would have a news update every single week, and I'm like, is someone really worried about the WCW Motorsports division, Motorsports division? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Do you remember they'd have a segment every week?
Yeah, I don't know why they would. Why did they sponsor these?
Because they're from the South, and in the South, that's a bigger deal. I mean, dude, we don't live in we have not lived in an area, and California isn't like this either. I go there, I'm going to go head over there. We have not lived in an area where motorsports are a big deal, where Dusty and Ric Flair and the rest of the WCW guys were born and raised. It's a huge fucking deal. That's why they did it. The audience wanted it.
I guess so. Anyways, but when they showed this guy in the audience, he didn't get much of a pop. I'll say that.
Well, where are they again on this show?
They're in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Oh, okay. Well, also they just started WCW Motorsports.
Yeah, maybe this guy sucked.
Also, I don't think the WCW car ever won anything. Like, just like WCW, it always loses.
So back to this match, Conan starts fighting back with punches. He hits a crappy-looking hurricanrana, and then he hits a bad drop kick that misses, and he lands on his head. The crowd is starting to turn right after this. Like, it looked awful. One Man Gang hits his 747 splash, but he doesn't go for the cover. Instead, he goes up to the second buckle, and he misses a bad-looking smash himself. Conan hits a top rope seated senton to win. It's what, if you're wondering what it looked like, the Holly she's at the Molly go around.
Yeah,
it looked like that, but just way worse. I gave this match a C. This is an awful match.
Horrible match. You know what I don't understand? I don't understand why didn't they just have Bossman and One Man Gang become a tag team again? Both guys as themselves were kind of washed in this era. Can you imagine them as a tag team? That would have been fucking great. People would have loved it.
That would have been great. Yeah. That's a good question.
This match didn't do any favors for Conan. They're trying to get him over as a young lion, and it didn't do him any favors.
Yeah, because they shouldn't have put him in with like somebody like One Man Gang, you
They,
know?
well, they've been making this mistake since day one. They constantly put the new guy in with some old guy who doesn't want to really work with them, and they make him look like fucking garbage. So
Yeah, that's true. That is the WCW's MO, 100%. What was that match we saw where it was like, was it like Doug Summers who would not put like Renegade
Van
over?
Hammer or someone, yeah, it
Oh
was like
yeah, Van Hammer.
someone that everyone now thinks stinks.
It was
But
Van
like,
Hammer. He was just beating on this guy, and then Van Hammer hits like one move and he wins at the end. And even then, he kicks out right after the three. Like, it was just like,
and then everyone is like Van Hammer sucks, and it's like, well, yeah, you think that because he never,
yeah,
he
you're
never
not
actually
pushing
got any
him.
shine.
Yeah, you're not pushing him. Right? Like WCW had all these old timers who were like, I'm not putting this guy over. If I'm gonna put him over, I'm gonna do it in such a shitty way that like
Mhm.
nobody helps nobody. Like,
Yeah,
oh my
I should
god.
be still getting the push. I'm only 52. What the fuck?
Yeah. Oh, and they had the Paul Roma do to Alex Wright.
Mhm.
So funny. Um, dude, I want someone to do that now. Like, I would
Oh,
love to
they
see
did that
someone
in
do that.
AEW. Billy Gunn and Jay White.
What? No, what do you mean? Oh wait,
Billy Gunn
that
gave
did
Jay White
happen.
nothing.
Roosh did that to Jungle Boy. Remember Roosh did it to Jungle Boy?
Yeah,
He
dude,
beat the
go
shit
back
out
and
of
watch.
him.
Go back, see if it's on like YouTube. Watch that fucking Jay White Billy Gunn match. He gives Jay White nothing. He treats him like a fucking job. He treats him like a guy who just started wrestling. It's fucking horrendous.
Oh my gosh.
Ugh.
You gotta love AEW. AEW, one of the best things I ever heard about AEW, the best descriptions I've ever heard is that they're the most pro wrestling company you'll ever see, right? And
Mhm.
it's true because there's just so much backstage shenanigans that happen, they're just so they're just so ridiculous. And the fact that like there's guys who just like, I'm not giving you anything. I'm gonna have 95% of the match, but you get to win it at the end.
And I'm 80 years
So
old, and you were a New Japan World Champion.
it's so funny, man. Oh,
And
it's
like,
hilarious.
and it was just allowed to happen. And
Yeah.
anyway,
Oh, it's so funny.
oh, how about
I
the
love
fact that Jeff Jarrett is now feuding with MJF? How about that?
I love AEW. I don't care what
All
anybody
right, let's
says.
keep
It's
going.
a funny company. So Mean Gene Okerlund, he tells us there was a sewer pipe that broke, so there's a leak happening behind me. I'm like, nobody needs to know this, Gene. Like, like it's so stupid. This company is so unprofessional. Can you
But I
imagine?
feel like, you know what I feel like with Gene? I feel like with Gene, he's constantly making, even though like he should be trying to get the company to succeed, he does these little digs on purpose to be like, because I think he constantly had fights with them where he'd be like WWF and Kevin Dunn do it like this, and they had to be like, well, that's not how we do it, and stop bringing up those two guys. And I think he makes those digs to be like, Vince wouldn't have a fucking leak.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. But like, because I was thinking, if if there was a leak during the middle of the pay per view at WWF, he would have never brought it up. Like,
No,
like
no, no. If there's a leak and it's not viewable on. First of all, even if it was viewable on, even if you could see it, they would shoot around it in WWE. And they're only dressed if you had to see it. But they also, if it's not, if no one can see it, it's in the back. They're not ever bringing it up. And if
yeah,
Michael Cole brought it up, he would get his head smashed into a fucking wall.
yeah, and the fact that like you can't even see it, but Mean Gene
Yeah,
Okerlund has to go out of his way to bring it up. It's really funny to me. It's like, what are you doing, man? Like,
because he has
why?
no respect. He has no respect for
Yeah,
that
he has
company.
no respect for this place. He once again plugs two former WWF champions are coming to WCW, and then he invites Road Warriors, and Animal goes, "Hey, it's eye for an eye. And I'm going to get Lex Luger in the ring tonight for revenge for what he did to me on Nitro." And both of them are like, he brings up, "Hey, what happened with Harlem Heat?" And they're both very sarcastically going, "Oh, I'm sorry, Harlem Heat, but it is what it is." So, all right,
It is
just
what it is.
it is what it is. This next match is what it is. It is the I Respect You strap match. Very famous match. Match number five.
Famous
It's
match.
Kevin. Yeah. What did you say?
It's a famous match.
It's a very famous match. Kevin Sullivan, who comes down with Kevin Sullivan, known as a Taskmaster. He comes down with Jimmy Hart. He's going to be facing Brian Pillman, Flying Brian. They start fighting right away. Pillman doesn't even have the strap on. Basically, it's an Indian strap match. You're supposed to put it on, each other's ribs, connected. He doesn't even have it on. He just grabs the strap and he starts whipping Kevin Sullivan with it a whole bunch until Kevin Sullivan turns and he punches him for real in the face. And this punch drops Brian Pillman. And then he quickly starts scrambling on all fours to the referee. He grabs the microphone and he says, "I respect you, Booker Man," and he leaves. And that's the match. And it's not even a minute long. And then
they're acting like, and everyone's acting like this wasn't supposed to happen. Like the match was supposed to go longer.
Yeah, everyone's like, "What is going on here?" And Arn Anderson comes down to the ring. He's got his shirt on. He's got shorts on. He's not in any gear. And he gets into the ring, and Kevin Sullivan just whips him with the strap. So Arn Anderson starts unbuttoning his shirt, like saying, "Oh, you want to do this?" And this pops the crowd. They start whipping each other, and Arn Anderson, he starts getting the edge, and he ties up Kevin Sullivan. Kevin Sullivan low blows Arn Anderson with the strap, and then whips him till Arn Anderson knees him in the groin, and also gets in the microphone, and he curses on the microphone, and he chokes Kevin Sullivan with the strap. They fight outside, and then back in the ring as Ric Flair runs down, and he asks them both to stop, and he says, "Do you see what they're making us do? We can't be doing this. We need to be united. Stand united to go against Hulk Hogan." And he goes, "Savage, I'm taking that belt, and I'm taking Liz from you." And Arn Anderson and Kevin decide, all right, we're going to handshake. They shake hands, and that's the end of that. I gave this a B. This is it's not a traditional wrestling match. You're not going to watch this because of you're not going to see some great work rate, but you're going to watch it because of the historical aspect is this moment takes place in wrestling history. So I gave this a B. What about you?
I'm wondering if he didn't leave and con Eric Bischoff. To this day, Eric Bischoff claims he wasn't conned. He was conned.
He was conned.
The storyline is you actually fire me, and then that'll make it crazier when I return. And then he goes and sides with Vince.
Yeah. So those of you guys who don't know, Brian Pillman is going to be fired from WCW the very next day. The whole thing, including this match, him just saying, "I respect you, Booker Man," all that is already planned. Kevin Sullivan knows what's going to happen. He has to act like it's all.
Everyone has to act like this is, and then Ric Flair's supposed to be like, "It doesn't matter. This guy went off script. We have to unite against Hulkamania." You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the whole thing. And Brian Pillman, he basically was like he basically wanted out of WCW, but he had this contract, and he said to Eric Bischoff, we got to make this look as real as possible. So when you fire me, you got to legit fire me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Eric Bischoff said, "Yeah, that's a great idea." Legit fires him, and Brian Pillman uses this to basically get out of his contract and go to WWF. Wow, Eric Bischoff's stupid that he still doesn't. He still
he doesn't. I would respect him more if he just admitted, "Yeah, he fucking got one over on me." But
I feel the same way you do. I would respect him more if he just admitted, "Yes, Brian Pillman pulled one on me."
Yeah, because he was like, "Well, Brian, no," because I thought like, "Yeah, go to WWF and you come back here." And like, what if he becomes the next Stone Cold Steve Austin? Why would he? What are you talking? What if you can't control what he does in WWF? How do you know he's going to become a bigger star? What if Vince turns him into a fucking jobber and he's like Barry Horowitz? Like what? Like he tries to make it seem like him and Brian Pillman were like, "Yeah, that's a great idea. You come back here." No, dude, just fucking admit he played you, bro. He fucking played you. But it's his ego. It's his ego. He can't admit.
It's almost like Chris Candido. You know how Chris Candido, till like the day he died, he wouldn't admit that Sonny was cheating on him.
Yeah.
Right? You never listen to him talk about it. You're just like, come on, man. Like you're just like, damn.
Yeah, it's like when and then the other thing that knows about Bischoff, and we'll get to it as we get closer to 99. He goes, I wouldn't change anything I did from 98 to 99. I'm like, no, you would. You would. Don't
Yeah,
say you would. Don't say you wouldn't. People would still be employed if you fucking anyway. We're going to get more into that as we get closer to 890 and 90. But yeah, I like I don't see where this could have went if he stayed in WCW. I don't know what the end game is. I think eventually what the end game probably would have been, whether Pillman liked it or not, is he becomes like the fourth member of the NWO. I think that's like the end game. And then he's basically like he becomes Buck Bagwell. I don't think anything big would have came into this. I like it because I think Pillman already had an idea of I'm going to go to WWF and I'm going to fuck with everyone to do it. And on that level, I liked it. But I don't know. Like, I want to say that I would like to know from Sullivan and Bischoff, what was the long term plan? Does he constantly break the script on every night show or something? What is the plan for this guy? You know?
yeah. It's definitely one of those things, though. If you're a wrestling fan, you should kind of go out of your way and watch it.
It's like the first time they did a thing where this wasn't supposed to be in the script.
Yeah, yeah. This is like the first pay per view. Super Brawl 6 is like the first pay per view I'm watching where it feels like this is the first pay per view in the modern era. You know, with all the
Yeah.
with all the hardcore match. Basically, it's a hardcore match that the Public Enemy
Yeah.
has. You know?
Yeah.
And this like worked shoot kind of thing. It's like, oh, this feels like the modern. Feels like when I was wrestling got really hot. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
me
man.
and Jokelin, he is with Giant and Jimmy Hart, and he tells Hulkamania is finished, and Giant gives a very Giant like promo. So yeah, it's a good promo by Giant. Let's go to our sixth match, another tag team match for the WCW tag titles. Road Warriors versus the champions, Sting and Lex Luger. Lex Luger takes a very long delay just getting in the ring. He's apprehensive. Hawk and Sting, they start the match, and they mess up a neckbreaker spot that silences the crowd. This is like, you know what doesn't happen anymore? This doesn't happen as much anymore now. But back then, if you messed up a move, it would kill all like crowd momentum in the match.
Mm-hmm.
Because people would I think like if you messed up if you blatantly messed up a move, people could tell like right away it was fake, and then they would just get quiet, right? But
Mm-hmm.
now when you see people mess up all the time, it affects nothing. The crowd
Mm-hmm.
still just cheers and stuff. Whether it be New Japan or WWE or it's very weird in that difference. But it happens
Well, I
here.
think also the Road Warriors are like idiots. It kind of kills them dead.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. But there's a very noticeable in this match. They mess up that neck breaker, and then the crowd just goes silent, and they stay quiet. They stay quiet for a long time. They're dead until Lex Luger comes in, and then Lex Luger gets sent to the guardrail and stuff, and it starts getting like a little bit of a reaction from the crowd. Animal starts an LOD chant, which kind of like gets the crowd into it. You can see him actively start one. He goes LOD, and then people start getting into it. And then basically Animal he gets in the ring. He takes an axe to the headbutt from Sting to the groin. You start seeing them do things to try to get the crowd back in. Animal starts the LOD chant, and then when Animal's in the ring and he's laying on the mat, Sting does the thing where he like falls headfirst into Animal's groin, and that gets
Mm-hmm.
the crowd kind of into it. And Lex Luger starts pressing in the attack. Sting goes for a top rope splash, but he meets the knees, and Hawk puts on the attack on Lex Luger. Uh, during this match, Dusty he says a very exaggerated hinges a whole bunch. This match it hinges on right like
Hingy, baby.
the hinges. I just thought it was really funny. At the end, Animal no sells a Sting suplex. Sting no sells an Animal suplex. Everyone fights it outside to a double count out. Terrible ending. C minus.
Not a
This was
good
not a good
match.
match.
Not a good match. I wouldn't have done the Harlem Heat match. I think the money more is in just Road Warriors versus Sting and Luger. But the Road Warriors, man, I was saying in '91 they were kind of washed. They're even more washed here.
They're washed here. They're 100% washed
they
here.
have
Yeah.
they have to be dominant. I mean, they're kind of like Goldberg. Honestly, like the Road Warriors should just be beating people in 20 seconds. They can't work a match, and it's very evident. And man, like they should just be squashing motherfuckers, bro. The smartest thing WWE ever did was have Brock Lesnar get squashed by Goldberg because that got them fucking 10 more years of Goldberg.
Yeah.
You know, like if the Road Warriors like squashed the Public Enemy on this show instead of whatever the fuck this was, people would have been going nuts. They would have been going nuts. But these guys,
Yeah.
they just don't have it anymore. They can't do it. They can't do it.
So Mean Gene, he is with Ric Flair and Woman, Nancy Benoit. And Flair, by the way, when they're standing there, it's Mean Gene, and next to Mean Gene is Woman, and then Ric Flair. And Woman's elbow is in front of Ric Flair's elbow, and her arm is in front of Ric Flair's arm, and he doesn't like it. He tries to make it unnoticeable, but he doesn't like that she's like kind of in front of him, and he even at one point like stands completely in front of Woman. Right, that's it's very little. It's not noticeable, but if you watch it carefully, you can see like it's like he's bothered by that, and he's just like, no, I'm the fucking attention, and he like fucking gets in front of her. Anyway, he gives a promo on Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, and he goes, "Woman, woman, oh woman, woo!" This is when he's in the phase where he says "woman" a lot.
Well, I guess he's like making like that. That's what it would sound like if he fucked her or something.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Mean Gene, he is with Liz when Randy Savage interrupts. Like it's a classic Randy Savage Liz. Like she's about to speak, but Randy Savage just like won't let her speak, and he says, "Mega powers are back. It's infinity and beyond." I love that he's still using the Toy Story catchphrase, and then Liz only says, "You're right about that." It's the only thing she says, and that's it. Classic Savage thing. We're gonna go to our match number 7. It is the first of 2 cage matches they were gonna have. We get a great intro by Michael Buffer of he does like "Let's Get Ready to Rumble," but this one like people are so into it at this point. Ric Flair comes out with Woman, who grabs a Hulk Hogan bandana and they throw it down and they stomp on it versus the champion Randy Savage with Liz. Who while they're promoting the Slim Jim. Ric Flair gets on the microphone before this match begins and he tells Liz, "Hey, why don't you kiss a real man before this match begins?" And Savage gets on the microphone. He goes, "Oh no!" And then they start fighting. And Ric Flair, he has the edge, but he in the match he knocks out the referee and he stomps on him. In the cage match. So like it's not behind the ref's back. He just punches the referee down. He stomps on him and stuff. So Ric Flair's in control, and then Randy Savage puts on the figure 4. And then Randy Savage comes up to the top and he jumps down, but he gets hit in the gut, and then Ric Flair starts putting the beating on Randy Savage. Ric Flair puts on the figure 4, and then Randy has the ropes. The referee grabs Rick by the hair to pull him off of Randy Savage. I guess there's no DQ in this. It's just like the referee's getting hit, the referee's getting involved. Just like a no DQ cage match. Randy starts throwing Rick into the cage as Woman starts screaming. Like she's very annoying. I can see why Chris Benoit.
Oh, her screaming fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up and be like Liz.
Yeah, she reminds me of Melina, like her screaming, and Daphne. Actually, I was thinking about
wait till we get to Daphne, bro.
Oh my god, dude! I can't stand the female who's screaming the whole time. Like,
what is it at? Like Sherry talks, like Sherry says things, like "get it up," which is like, she doesn't just scream. Like who would do that anyway in a real like contest? Like just I would just be like, if you were a football coach, would you just go like ah, and, at the team? Like what the fuck are you yelling about?
Yeah, it adds nothing. It's very annoying, but that's what Woman is doing here. Ric Flair is bloody because he's been hitting the cage with his face, and but he's able to atomic drop Randy Savage, and then he takes a Flair flop that's not timed well, so it gets no reaction. That's so funny how Ric Flair, at this point, he's been wrestling for so long. He's been doing the flare flop for so long, and he still every once in a while doesn't know like where to put it. You know, it's very interesting. It's like
Um,
one of his best jokes, and he still doesn't know where to put it in his fucking set list. You know?
yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I did like this match though. I thought this was their best match besides WrestleMania 8 that I've seen of
Ooh,
them
I'm
so
gonna
far.
disagree, but we'll finish this off. By the way,
Mhm.
in this match, Dusty goes, he once again says, they both look like they're tipping the light fandango. I'm like, oh, I guess Dusty says this a lot. Uh Rand, this crowd, by the way, is not into this match. They're not into it.
Mhm. Well,
And
I
in
couldn't hear the
order,
crowd, so maybe that's why I'm like, oh, I like this
yeah,
match.
the reason, the way they have to get the crowd in, this is how bad, but it's how good of a performer they are. But the crowd is so not into it. The way they get the crowd into it is Ric Flair is on the ropes, like trying to climb out of the cage, and Randy Savage has to moon Ric Flair, pull his tights down so his bare ass is showing. And it's a long moon. It's like if you watch it, he basically faces all sides with his bare ass out, so that every side of the arena can get a full view of his ass. So that's how they get the audience back into it, right? That's how bad the audience reaction is. And then finally, it just wakes up the crowd. Um, and what do you call it? He gets crotched in the top ropes. He finally falls down and gets crotched. And then there's a cover, and it's only a 2 count, but the stupid ass bell, the timekeeper, he rings the bell, even though it's only a 2 count. Ric Flair low blows Randy Savage to maintain the crowd reaction, but the crowd is starting to die down again because I think that the ringing the bell early and stuff, that's kind of like, you know, took a lot of the energy out. So Ric Flair climbs up to the top of a rope again, and then he gets mooned again to wake up the crowd again. There's 2 mooning spots because of how bad the crowd reaction is. And they're like, this is the only that's going to get him up. They both go down. Randy Savage starts ramming Ric Flair's head to the cage, and it jars the door open. Woman, she has to throw like powder into Randy Savage's eyes,
And
but
she does a horrible job. She's the
it's
worst part of
like
this match.
it's like caught up in her dress, or she can't get it out of the plastic bag. She's very slow.
She does a horrible job
Ends
in
up
this match, bro.
when she throws it, Randy Savage drops his head too early or something, and she
Hmm.
completely like misses him. Liz hands Ric Flair her shoe, and he nails Randy Savage with it to win the title. After this match, Liz joins Woman, and they both get chased around by Hulk Hogan, who comes down and confronts Arn Anderson, Ric Flair with a chair, and Hulk Hogan nails Arn Anderson with a chair, but they all escape, and then Hulk Hogan tries to plead with the referee. Um, uh, but commentators, they say anything goes. So like, hey, it doesn't matter if if Ric Flair used a shoe, it's a no disqualification, which is true. Remember
Yeah.
Ric Flair hit the air. So why the fuck did they even break up rope breaks and stuff in this match? This is a stupid match. This is a C. They're lucky I don't give it as a C minus or an F. This match made no sense. The crowd wasn't into it. It was not good.
I liked it. See, I had the sound low
What
because I
did
was
you like about this?
I thought the action was a lot really good. I liked the action between the two of them. I liked Macho Man's moves. I liked what Macho Man was doing. I didn't hear the crowd, so I didn't know the crowd wasn't into it. I liked when they did a long shot of the ring. I thought that was I thought you see like a crowd's view of what these two guys are doing. I liked the match itself. I liked the work rate. I liked the work in the match.
There's like no logic in this match. There's
Yeah,
no
well, I'll tell you the other thing about this match, and I'm surprised the crowd wasn't cheering or booing. This was the main reason why at the beginning of '96, obviously things change. This is attributed to the reason why Nitro is being Raw every week. People were invested in the Macho Man Flair storyline. This was hot. This was their hottest storyline at the time. Um,
Interesting. I mean,
yeah. So
I wasn't hot
here's
for
the
this.
problem. Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem. This is the problem. I liked everything up until the finish. Elizabeth turning on Macho Man
Yeah.
should be a big deal. It should be a heartbreaking moment. And I kind of feel that like if they did this, if Macho Man stuck around and they did this in 95, 96, Vince would have had it end the show. There would have been they would have treated like a big dramatic deal that she did this, right? Like have the announcers lay out, just have silence, just let it sink in. And I think it would have been an all-time moment. But she does it, and then Hogan walks out and makes it all about himself. And it ruins what should be a really emotional, significant moment. It means nothing. And it's like, and Hogan just totally overshadows the moment. And we really don't get to like sit in what this means. We've been through so much with these people and with these two, Macho Man Elizabeth, and now she's turned on him. She's gonna go fuck Ric Flair. She's decided to fuck Ric Flair after all this time. She's given in, and it means nothing. It means nothing. It means nothing to Savage. It means nothing to Flair. And it's really like, then why bring her in? Why bring her in if you're not gonna? If this is gonna mean
this match was not good on so many levels, in my opinion. By the way, if you're keeping track, Ric Flair is now 13-time champion by winning this title.
Mm-hmm.
But like, they're all short reigns. Like they're like a month.
The last few are short reigns.
Yeah,
he literally is gifted the title by Nash for like his last reign in 2000. Yeah.
So Mean Gene, he is with Hulk Hogan, who mentions. By the way, Hulk Hogan's so stupid. Like Mean Gene, he's with Hulk Hogan, and Hulk Hogan mentions, Randy and Liz, they've actually been separated 4 years ago. You fucking asshole.
Yeah, like that was the other thing. Like they kind of made it known that they were just friends now. So it makes it even. So what do you? I suppose so. What does Savage care if she's turned on him? Like, why is he so angry?
It's so like
he's constantly rooting their moment. He's constantly
like I wouldn't have known this, but why did he have to say that? Like,
because he doesn't want he wants the storyline to not be as big as his.
Yeah, it's an asshole. He's like, they were separated for 4 years already, so I guess this finalizes everything. He's an asshole. He's such a fucking dick. He's such a dickhead. We're going to go to our final match. It's another cage match. Michael Buffer says this guy, he literally
hold on. I forgot I bought this. Isn't this a nice shirt? How did I forget I bought this? It was like $5.
Oh, it's $5. That's actually pretty good for $5.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot I bought this. Oh shit, I gotta wear this.
That's for $5.
Five Below. You gotta go to Five Below, bro.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Sorry.
It's okay. Michael Buffer, he says this next opponent, he has returned. He literally returned from the dead. He's talking about the Giant, who comes out with Taskmaster and Jimmy Hart versus Hulk Hogan, who's got an eye patch on. He starts by throwing his shirt at the Giant and slamming into the cage. Hogan sucks chants are heard as he bites the Giant. Giant fights back, choking Hulk Hogan with the shirt, stomping his fingers, and doing Giant moves on him. Giant misses a big elbow for Hulk Hogan to come back until he tries to go for a body slam. It backfires, and he gets a second beating. Hogan is bloody, and Giant hits a really shitty-looking choke slam. So Hogan no-sells it, hulks up, and he rams the Giant into the cage. So now the Giant is bloody, and he slams the Giant, which does get cheers. He hits 3 leg drops, but the Giant no-sells it and attacks Hogan. But the Giant falls off the cage. Hogan, instead of going to the door, decides I'm not gonna walk out the door. I'm just gonna climb up over the cage and out to win the match. Taskmaster hits him with a chair, and Hogan no-sells it. So Kevin Sullivan and Giant are in the cage with Hogan when all of a sudden Meng runs down, Barbarian runs down, Morris, Hugh Morris runs down, the Shark runs down, One Man Gang runs down, Zodiac, they all come down into the cage. Hogan beats every single one of them with a chair as they're coming in, like whack-a-mole. Bam, 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 bam. Not a single one. This is like a gang of like, how many guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 men cannot take on Hulk Hogan. And the Loch Ness Monster, who is Giant Haystacks from England, he comes down. He wants to join, but the Dungeon of Doom basically hold Loch Ness back, going, no, you can't get in there with Hogan. He'll kill you. This is a C-. This is awful. This was disgusting.
I would give it a less than that.
Yeah, you're right. I should have given it less than that. You're right.
I would give it an F.
You're right. I think this deserves an F. I'm gonna change it. This is like an F. Yeah.
This is fucking atrocious. Yes. The Giant has been buried. This guy is new. You've already made this guy into a loser. This is why I talked about this with Kyle at the Halloween Havoc episode. But the way they debuted the Giant and make him Hogan's bitch, literally seconds after he enters the ring, I think ruined his career. Ruined his. I mean, you can say, yeah, he made money, but he was never the star he could have been because of how he started off. Imagine Braun Breaker walks into NXT and just gets the shit beat out of him by like fucking Cody Rhodes for like 6 months, you know? Just imagine, and how am I supposed to take this guy seriously? So that sucks. He does no favors for the Giant. Then he basically buries everyone that he supposedly should be feuding with. He just buries everyone at once. It is every one of Hogan's worst instincts on display. If he did not turn heel in 1996 and continue to go down this road, I think Bischoff would have had no choice but to just let him go, because that's how bad this is. It's almost like unrecoverable from how bad he's. And meanwhile, everyone else is doing great work. I know you don't like the Savage match. I think he's doing great work. Luger's doing great character work. You don't see it on this pay-per-view. Brian Pillman is doing great character work. This company is growing despite what Hogan is doing as a face in the main event angles. And I almost think they would have outgrown Hogan. If Hogan was like, I'm not joining the NWO, I don't know where that angle would have went. Probably in the toilet.
Yeah. This is awful. This is one of the. How does he not realize how
Bad
damage he's doing?
Oh, well, I think he sees the ratings, and the ratings because WWF wasn't that good. Nobody wanted to watch Goldust. So I think he thinks I think he does realize. That's why he turned heel. I think he does.
I think you're right. Yeah, actually, you're right.
I think he does realize down deep. Well, Bischoff said to him the summer before, I think you should turn heel. Bischoff didn't want him to be a face the summer of 95, and he said no. And I think down deep he did realize. And I think when Scott Hall showed up, I think he realized if I try to go against Scott Hall, my career is over. Like if he tries to, Scott Hall's gonna eat me up on the mic. He's like, I have no choice but to team with them. I think he does realize, but I don't think he knew what the spark was. But I'll tell you what, man, when he picked his spot, it was a spot that changed the world. But man, seeing this is like you had no choice but to turn heel. You had no choice.
Yeah.
So all in all, a mixed bag. You didn't like the match I liked, but I would say skip the show.
Yeah, except for, you could go on YouTube and you can watch Brian Pillman do that thing.
Yeah.
But this is not a good pay-per-view. It's awful.
It's not awful, but I didn't like it that much. But I will say it's interesting. I watched this with the comics, right? The Saturday Night Comics. Like, you people don't watch wrestling, and they were into the Macho Man Ric Flair match. I'll say that. So it's interesting. It's interesting to watch with people who don't know anything, you know? Because I'm watching the green room. All right, next week, let's go over the next 4 weeks, Andrew Lee. Next week, we have In Your House 6. That is Diesel versus Bret Hart. In 2 weeks, Uncensored 96. If you think the last two matches on this show were bad, wait till you get the Mega Powers versus the Alliance to End Hulkamania. I would say the lowest point in Hogan's career up until the fucking boom. That's how bad that match is. And then in 3 weeks, the lowest point of the WrestleMania is the Iron Man match between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. One of the worst WrestleMania main events ever. I will go on record with that. The only match probably worse than it is Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, and also Triple H versus Randy Orton. Those matches were worse, but this is a snooze fest. We'll talk about it when we get there. And then in 4 weeks, In Your House, Good Friends, Better Enemies. We're back with good matches when we have Shawn Michaels versus Diesel in the blow-off in a street fight. What are you excited about?
Jeez, I don't know. They all sound terrible.
Shawn Michaels Diesel's pretty good.
I guess In Your House because it's so short. What about you?
Good Friends, Better Enemies is the only thing I'm really looking forward to. I think the next show is not going to be that bad. But I don't like WrestleMania 12. I really do think there's not a lot. There's nothing good. People just have Vince has programmed you into thinking that was a good WrestleMania because he wants to blow Shawn Michaels. And Uncensored 96 is horrible. But the WCW does pick up with Slamboree 96. Take that one.
All right. Well, that's that.
That's that. Guys, if you enjoy the show, please subscribe. Please leave us a comment. We're getting to the attitude era. We're getting to the hotness. Well, Andrew Lee, here's the thing, though. I don't know what's going to happen in March of 2026. WCW might be taken off everywhere. So if that's the case, guys, if they start changing up the archives, we will just go to if we're up to because I think by March 96, we're going to be up to fucking the summer of 98, right? If they take a bunch of shit away, the next available pay-per-view is WrestleMania 17. We'll just jump ahead to that, whatever's available.
Yeah, but we won't know until we have a whole another year to worry about that.
I know, but now there's so many pay-per-views. We're not. I hope. I have a feeling they're gonna erase WCW. They're gonna make it hard to get access to moving forward. I hope that's not the case. I love WCW. Even a show like this, I just enjoy it. I just enjoy being around WCW. But yeah, so that's everything. We'll see you next week for In Your House 6. And you know what? Hulk Hogan, fuck you, brother.